Hey, my name is Ben. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're checking out the Jackery HomePower 3000. This is just being released and is actually the first Jackery that we will have featured on my YouTube channel. Now, this is really designed to be for essential home backup. And at 3 kilowatt hours of capacity and 3,600 watts of continuous output with surge all the way up to 7,200 watts, you can run pretty much all of your home essentials. And with this 30 amp plug up here, you can run your travel trailer, which I do intend to bring this over and plug it in. This is kind of a rough plug right here, but this is exactly what we need for connecting our RV. So we'd be good to go to power the camper. However, we are going to do this slightly differently because I do want to do a capacity test on this right now. So I'm going to use an adapter. I actually have a spot inside the camper that I can plug in the power for the camper, which is actually really useful when you have a power station because we don't have to power this thing from outside. We can power it from the inside because it is a power station. It's always a nerve-wracking experience going back into the camper for the first time after it's been in storage. And I think we kept the mice out of this thing for the winter. There's still peanut butter on the trap right there. That's a good sign. So we just had to pull this out. And now this cord right here, we can plug in and it will power the whole camper. Technically this should be a 30 amp plug on here, but it's not. I do plan on changing that. In order to do a capacity test on this thing, we're going to be doing it through this. We'll turn on the AC and then we're going to go ahead and reset our energy monitor. Out of 3 kilowatt hours, I'm guessing we'll get like 2.7. So the whole camper is connected to this cord right now. Go ahead and plug it in. And now we should be able to fire up some loads. You can see we're outputting actually 140 watts already. Right over here we've got our air conditioner, so we'll find out if it's able to start it. There it went. No problem. Let's see how many watts we're drawing. With everything turned on, we've got the air conditioner, the refrigerator, and a bunch of lights. We're drawing 1,800 watts. So it should be able to run this for about 1.4 hours before we'll be able to see our final result. Now we're just about halfway there, 56% remaining. And one thing that I've noticed, pulling this 1,800 watts, this thing is virtually silent. I mean, I can't hear it over the sound of the camper air conditioner running. It's just really not noticeable. Now right underneath this storage compartment, I've actually put the HomePower 3000, and this is actually a really good spot for it. There's enough space in this compartment that it can still cool adequately. I don't really see a way to change to Fahrenheit for our temperatures. That's a little bit annoying. And there, it finally just shut off. Let's take this thing back. We're going to get it charged back up with solar. In order to see what our actual capacity test result was, we have to turn our AC back on again here and plug our tester in. 2.795 kilowatt hours, which is pretty good. Our actual capacity is 3,072 watt hours. How are you today?
Good.
What are you up to? Are you playing with your new kitty?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Cookie.
So we're pulling in about 180 watts here with this 200 watt panel. We actually have a little indicator, and then I just finished assembling the Solar Saga 500 and then brought them over and plugged them into the Jackery. If we have both solar panels connected, the 200 watt and the 500 watt, it only pulls from the 500 watt. So you obviously must have to have matched voltage and basically the same panels plugged into the two ports. So I think I'm going to grab a second Solar Saga 500. Do you like the solar panels? Don't walk on them, okay? One nice thing about these is that they're significantly more wind resistant than the ones that you just set up with a little tilt stand. But I'm just going to lay these ones just perfectly flat. We'll go ahead and connect them together. They're just Anderson power pole connectors. And push them together. There's one. And I actually kind of like the individual panels. Like the fact that you can kind of lay these out how you want. For the last one here, we just have an adapter cable to string back to our machine. I kind of think that the flat ones are going to be more efficient right now. 356 watts right now from that other set there. I think I'm just going to unplug that set for a minute and plug in the ones that are laying flat. Oh wow, look at that. Man, that MPPT is so fast. Yeah, 403 watts. So now we should be able to get some combined action. So there we go. Man, so fast. 755 watts. Now these are supposed to go more east-west. Right now this is north-south. When they're east-west, the sun is going to rise and kind of hit one half of the panels and then set and hit the other half of the panels. And that's a really good setup for having decent performance without having to move them around all the time. I'd kind of be tempted to just throw these up on top of the camper. There's holes in the corners that you can put stakes through as one option, or you could use string. Yeah, whatever panels you get, you want to have two matching sets. Hey, what are you doing on my panels? You're not supposed to be on the panels. So you can see on the front of this thing, we do have a standard 12 volt outlet, which is actually really nice. If you take this thing camping, you really want to have that. 2 USB Type-C up to 100 watts, 2 USB Type-A, and then we've only got 3 buttons: our main power button for turning the unit on and off, a button for turning on the USB, and a button for turning on the AC ports. Of course, of going across here, we've got a total of 3,600 watts of capacity shared between all of these receptacles, and this is just a 120 volt unit, so we're not going to be able to get 240 volts out of it, but that's not really what it's designed for or what it's needed for. And then up here, of course, we have our 30 amp travel trailer plug, and that's going to be super useful for all of you guys who have campers out there. Mine has this exact plug on it, so we're going to definitely give that a try. Now, if we pan around to this side right here, you'll see we have our input ports. We have an AC in right there. I love the fact that their AC charging cable is bright orange. You're never going to confuse it with your other ones. But it is a standard design, so if you don't have your orange one with you, you can still use one of the black ones that's laying around. And then we have 2 DC inputs. Now this is probably the biggest thing that's different to me coming from other power station types, is we don't have XT60, we don't have MC4, we have what's called DC 8020. And I kind of get the impression that Jackery wants you to buy their panels more so than adapting to standard panels, because I went on their website actually and looked for a DC 8020 to MC4 adapter, and it does not exist on the Jackery website. You can get them on Amazon, however, so I might order one of those. I'll link it in the description. But in any case, the standard ones that they're going to recommend as far as panels go are going to be Jackery panels using that type of connector. Now this particular cord actually with the Solar Saga 200 has a USB port, USB Type-C and USB Type-A, which is kind of cool. Now it doesn't say the voltage range that needs to be on this, and we can very quickly in the Jackery app pull up the device specifications to see that DC wattage. If I scroll down right here, you can see our solar input is 16 to 60 volts, 12 amps max. So 24 amps combined, or 1,000 watts max. Now the app has some pretty cool features. You can see we can turn our DC and AC on and off. Kind of cool that it shows you your 120 volts, 60 hertz right there. And then we've got our screen controls. We can see how much generation we have made. Over here we can adjust the finer settings, so we can change our charging mode. I have it in quiet mode right now, so it doesn't run the fan quite as loud, and it charges it at closer to 800 watts. The thing I don't like as much is that we can't change it to like individual wattages. On some other brands you can adjust it anywhere from 200 watts up to the maximum in 200 watt intervals, and I kind of like that feature. We do have an energy saving mode so that it will turn itself off. And then our working mode, right now we've got it set to use the entire battery, but we can put it in battery saving mode, which will allow basically it to lock out the bottom and top end of the battery to save it and keep it in a little bit better condition. And then there's also a way that you can use it like in a time of use mode or with solar power, and that's what these two are for down here. If you had it plugged into the wall using it as a UPS, you could have it charge up when the rates are cheap and then pass through that energy, use the battery when the rates are high, and then in self-powered mode it's going to charge via solar and try to use as much solar as possible. At 3 kilowatt hours and 3,600 watts of output, you're going to be able to power pretty much all of your basic essentials. So like your refrigerator, a circulator fan to keep fresh air wherever you're at, charging up your devices, and being able to power some lights. This is going to be able to handle all of that quite nicely and handle it for long enough that it's convenient. You know, a lot of these power stations you can turn on and run for a short amount of time and do those things, but this thing will run your refrigerator for up to 2 days. And if you have a solar panel or two connected to it, that will extend that runtime. And if eventually it does die, you can go ahead and recharge it via AC with a gas generator and then be able to run on the battery again. That's one of the best use cases, I think, for these battery stations in a power outage scenario, is not having to have your gas generator all the time running for those small loads. Jackery has what they're calling zero drain technology built into this, which is supposed to retain 95% of the unit's charge after 1 year of being stored. And that is really impressive. Now, if you want to be really strategic with this thing, you could use it in time of use mode if you have a variance in what your electric rates are at night versus during the day. Here in the Midwest, it's the same rate all the time, so it doesn't really apply to us. But if you have a big difference in that, you could plug some loads into here. So let's say your refrigerator was plugged into it, and then you plug this thing into the wall, and you tell it when your electricity is expensive and when it is cheap. And then it will recharge itself when the electricity is cheap and then discharge itself while the electricity is expensive. And by doing that, whatever loads you have plugged into it, you can save some money doing that. In addition to, you could have solar panels plugged into here, so it could be using some solar and some off-peak electricity, and over time you could offset some of the cost of this unit. They have what's called whisper quiet technology for this thing, which I guess means that the fans aren't going to run like crazy. Let's plug a toaster in really quick. There we go, 36, 11. The fans are ramping up a little bit. For the overload test, we've got a Keurig, which we're going to go ahead and turn on right now, and a toaster, and an electric tea kettle. We'll just turn that on. How many watts are we up to so far? 3,600 watts. So right now it's running at basically its rated capacity. So I'm going to turn these both on high. This will be a fast overload. We'll see what it does here. Oh, I guess the Keurig heated up all the way, but here's one of them. 37. Okay, 5,000 watts.
Mm-hmm. 5,100.
So it trips out pretty fast. So that's pretty much the inrush current. I'm gonna try to just slightly overload it.
3,000.
There's 3,700. 4,000 watts. Oh, so see how it surged there for a second, but it didn't shut it off right away. I'm gonna try on this one at low. 44. It seems like when it goes over 5,000 watts, it turns off pretty quickly. There's 4,200. One. Oh.
That was good.
It was like
42.
it was like a minute. Now you can get the Jackery HomePower 3000 for like 30% off right now on launch. So it's actually pretty good value. I think it's about $2,000 for 3 kilowatt hours worth of storage and that pretty large inverter. So definitely check out the links if you are interested. That's been a quick look at the Jackery HomePower 3000. Let me know what you guys think about this thing in the comment section down below, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one. Whoa, you're good at that. Now I'll tell you what, Southwest Minnesota, the wind never quits blowing.